I want you to imagine waking up to a knock on your door that changes your life forever. Not a gentle knock, but the heavy, confident knock of authority. That is exactly what happened to Ada. She thought it was the landlord coming to throw her out. She thought it was the end of her road. But when she opened that door, she didn't see the landlord. She saw a man whose shoes cost more than her entire year's salary. But before we get to that shocking moment, you need to understand the pain, the sacrifice, and the secret that brought this billionaire to her doorstep. Please, before we dive into this emotional roller coaster, do me a favor. Hit that like button. It helps us share these important stories with the world. And if you haven't subscribed yet, press that button now. You don't want to miss the blessing that is coming your way. Now, let me introduce you to Ada. Ada was a nurse, but not the kind you see on TV with perfect makeup and an easy life. No, Ada worked at City General Hospital, a place where the air always smelled of antiseptic and despair. She was 24 years old, but her eyes looked 40. Why? Because Ada was carrying the weight of the world. Her father had passed away, leaving her to care for her younger brother, who needed expensive medication for his asthma. Every month, Ada's salary was gone before it even touched her hands. One rainy Tuesday evening, the hospital was chaotic. People were rushing in and out. The head matron, Mrs. Ease, was shouting orders. Mrs. Ease was a woman who loved money more than human life. If a patient came in with gold chains, she would run to welcome them. But if they came in dirty clothes, she would tell the security to push them out. Ada, why are you standing there? Go and clean bed for. Mrs. Ease screamed, her face twisted in anger. Yes, ma, Ada replied, keeping her head down. She learned long ago never to argue with Mrs. Ease. It was during her break that Ada saw her. She went to the back of the hospital, near the generator house, to eat her small portion of rice. The rain was pouring heavily, drumming against the roof. That's when she saw a figure huddled against the wall. It was an old woman, wrapped in layers of dirty, soaked fabrics. She was shaking violently. Her skin was covered in sores, and the smell coming from her was enough to make anyone turn away. Most people would cover their nose and walk fast. Most people would call security. But Ada, she froze. She looked at the woman and saw her own mother, who had died years ago. Ada didn't think twice. She didn't think about the mud ruining her white uniform. She didn't think about the germs. She walked into the rain and knelt beside the woman. Mama, Ada whispered, "Are you okay?" The old woman looked up. Her eyes were milky and clouded, perhaps with cataracts. She tried to speak, but her teeth were chattering from the cold. Hungry, so cold. She rasped. Ada looked at her own lunch. It was the only food she would eat until the next morning. Her stomach grumbled, reminding her of her own hunger. But she opened the container and held a spoon to the woman's lips. Eat, Mama. It's warm, Ada said softly. The woman ate like she hadn't seen food in days. When she finished, she grabbed Ada's hand with a grip that was surprisingly strong. God will pay you, the woman whispered. You don't know me, but God knows you. Ada smiled sadly. It's okay, Mama. Stay here. I will bring you a blanket. For the next 2 weeks, this became Ada's secret routine. Every morning before her shift, she would sneak to the back with warm water and a towel to clean the woman's sores. Every afternoon, she shared her lunch. She even used her transport money to buy antibiotic ointment for the woman's legs, which meant Ada had to trek 2 hours home every night. Can you imagine that sacrifice? Walking 2 hours on tired legs just so a stranger could have medicine? My people, kindness is expensive, but Ada paid the price willingly. She called the woman Mama Rose. But remember, in every story of light, there is darkness waiting to strike. And that darkness was Mrs. Ease. One afternoon, Ada was late returning from her break. She had been dressing a particularly bad wound on Mama Rose's leg. She rushed back into the ward, breathless. Mrs. Ease was waiting for her, arms folded, tapping her foot. And where have you been, you useless girl? Mrs. Ease boomed. The whole ward went silent. I was just taking some fresh air, Ma. Ada lied, her heart pounding. Fresh air? You smell like a gutter. You smell like rot. Mrs. Ease sniffed the air and wrinkled her nose. If I find out you're doing something stupid, Ada, I will fire you. And you know what that means for your sick brother. The threat hung in the air like smoke. Ada swallowed hard. She couldn't lose this job, but she couldn't leave Mama Rose to die. A few days later, Mama Rose seemed clearer in her mind. She looked at Ada with those milky eyes and asked, "My child, why do you do this? You have nothing, yet you give me everything." Ada sighed, sitting on a crate beside her. "Because, Mama, we're all one bad day away from being in your position. And I believe that if I take care of you, maybe angels will take care of my brother." Mama Rose nodded slowly. "You have a rich heart, Ada, a heart of gold. Do not worry. The sun will shine on you soon." Ada didn't know how prophetic those words were. She just thought it was the rambling of a sick old lady. The disaster happened on a Monday morning. Ada had brought a small flask of tea for Mama Rose. As she was pouring it into a cup, a shadow fell over them. Ada looked up and gasped. It was Mrs. E's, and she wasn't alone. She was with two burly security guards. "Uh-huh, I knew it," Mrs. E screamed in triumph. "I knew you were the one bringing filth into my hospital compound. Look at this. A mad woman living here, and you are feeding her like a pet." "Ma, please," Ada begged, standing up to shield Mama Rose. "She is sick. She has nowhere to go. Please, just let her stay." "Let her stay?" Mrs. E's laughed, a cruel, cold sound. "This is a private hospital, not a dumping ground. Security, throw this rag out. And as for you, Ada..." The guards moved in. They grabbed Mama Rose roughly. The old woman cried out in pain. "Stop! You're hurting her!" Ada screamed, grabbing the guard's arm. Mrs. E stepped forward and slapped Ada across the face. "Pa!" The sound echoed. Ada held her cheek, tears stinging her eyes. "You are fired." Mrs. E spat. "Pack your things and get out. You are a disgrace to this profession. Touching filth and then touching patients? Disgusting. Get out." Ada watched helplessly as they dragged Mama Rose out of the gate and threw her onto the street like a bag of trash. Mama Rose looked back at Ada, her eyes filled with tears, before she hobbled away into the busy market crowd, disappearing from sight. Ada went home broken. She had lost her job. She had lost the woman she tried to save. And now, she had no money for her brother's inhaler. She sat on the floor of her tiny room and cried until her throat burned. She prayed to God, asking why? Why do the wicked prosper while the good suffer? I try to do the right thing. Have you ever felt like that? Like you did everything right, but life still punished you? If you have, tell me in the comments. Say, "I have been there," because Ada was at rock bottom. That night was the longest of her life. She couldn't sleep. She kept worrying about Mama Rose out there in the cold. Then came the morning. At 7 a.m., the ground shook. Not from an earthquake, but from the sound of engines. Powerful engines. Ada heard neighbors shouting and murmuring. What is happening? Who owns those cars? Is it the governor? Ada stood up, confused. Then the knock came. Boom, boom, boom. Her heart stopped. She thought it was the police. Maybe Mrs. E's had sent them to arrest her for stealing the hospital bandages she used on Mama Rose. Trembling, she walked to the door. She opened it slowly. Standing there was a man who looked like he stepped out of a magazine. He was tall, wearing a navy blue suit that fit perfectly. Behind him, parked right in front of her shanty house, were 3 black SUVs and a Rolls-Royce. 2 men in suits stood by the cars, hands clasped. "Are you Nurse Ada?" the man asked. His voice was deep and calm. Ada swallowed. "Why, yes. I am Ada. Please, sir, I didn't steal anything. If this is about the hospital." The man smiled. It wasn't a cruel smile. It was warm. "May I come in?" Ada stepped back, too stunned to speak. The man entered her tiny room. He looked around at the peeling paint, the single mattress on the floor, the lack of furniture. But he didn't look with disgust. He looked with respect. "My name is Chief Obi," he said. "I'm the CEO of Zenith Oil and Gas." Ada's mouth fell open. Everyone knew Chief Obi. He was one of the richest men in the country. What are you doing here, sir?" she stammered. Chief Obi took out his phone. "I am looking for the woman who saved my mother's life." He pressed play on a video. Ada leaned in. On the screen, sitting on a velvet sofa, wearing beautiful lace and gold jewelry, was Mama Rose. She looked healthy. Her skin was glowing. "Ada, The woman in the video said, her voice strong. "My angel, don't be afraid. My son is coming to thank you." Ada gasped. Mama Rose? But she was a beggar. She was homeless. Chief Obi sighed, his face serious. "My mother has a condition. Dementia. Sometimes she wanders off. She forgets who she is. 2 weeks ago, she slipped past her security details. We searched everywhere. We were frantic. We tracked her to the area near your hospital, but we couldn't find her." He looked Ada in the eye. "She told me everything, Ada. She told me how people walked past her, how they spat at her, how the hospital matron ordered her to be thrown out like garbage. But she told me about you." He stood up and paced the small room. "She told me you washed her sores. She told me you gave her your own food when you were hungry yourself. She told me you lost your job, tried to protect her." Tears rolled down Ada's face. I couldn't leave her, sir. She looked like my mother." Chief Obi reached into his jacket pocket. "Ada, in this world, loyalty and kindness are rare. You treated a nobody like a queen. Now, it is time for you to be treated like one." He handed her a document. "This is a check for 50 million naira. It is for your brother's health and for you to never go hungry again." Ada fell to her knees. She couldn't breathe. 50 million? "Stand up, Ada," Chief Obi said gently, pulling her up. "That is not all. I own a chain of private medical centers, the best in West Africa. I am appointing you as the head of compassionate care. You will oversee how patients are treated. You will never answer to anyone like Mrs. Ease again." And speaking of Mrs. Ease, Chief Obi's eyes grew cold. "Get dressed. We are going to the hospital. You should have seen the scene, my viewers." The convoy rolled into City General Hospital. The security guards who had thrown Mama Rose out were shaking in their boots when they saw the Rolls Royce. Doctors ran out, and there, standing at the front, was Mrs. Ease. She was grinning, fixing her wig, thinking a big donor had arrived. She rushed to the car door as Chief Obi stepped out. "Welcome, sir. Welcome to our facility. I am the head matron," she announced, bowing low. Then, Ada stepped out from the other side of the car. She was wearing a new dress Chief Obi had one of his assistants bring. She looked dignified. She looked powerful. Mrs. Ease's jaw hit the floor. "Ada, what are you doing here?" "Security. I told you to." "Quiet," Chief Obi roared. His voice echoed across the compound. He walked up to Mrs. Ease. "You threw my mother into the gutter. You slapped this young woman for showing mercy. You represent everything wrong with humanity." He turned to the hospital administrator who had just run out, sweating. "I am buying this wing of the hospital. My first order of business is that this woman, Mrs. Ease, is fired immediately, and she must never work in this city again." Mrs. Ease fell to her knees, wailing. "Please, sir, it was a mistake. I didn't know she was your mother. I thought she was a beggar." Chief Obi looked down at her with disgust. "That is your crime. You thought she was a beggar, so you treated her like trash. If you had treated her with human dignity, you would be the one standing beside me today. But you failed the test." He turned to Ada. "Let's go, Director Ada." Ada's life changed that day. Her brother got the best treatment in London and was fully cured. Ada bought a house, a real house, where the roof didn't leak. But she never changed. She remained the kind nurse who saw people, not clothes. And every Sunday, she visits Mama Rose in the mansion. They sit together, drink tea, and laugh. So, my dear friends, what is the lesson here? It is simple. Never look down on anyone because of their situation today. The person you ignore today could be the person you need tomorrow. Be kind, not because you want a reward, but because it is who you are. The universe is watching. God is watching. And remember, sometimes angels don't come with wings. Sometimes they come with sores and dirty clothes, waiting to see if you have a heart of gold. If this story touched your heart, please type "kindness pays" in the comment section. Let's spread this positive energy. Don't forget to like, share this video with your friends and family. You never know who needs to hear this message today. And hit that subscribe button for more stories that will change your life. Until next time, stay blessed.